Welcome ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about the Veteran Asylum Guide. This trial is located in Clockwork City. Before we start talking about the bosses, I just want to give a few quick notes. Now, if you kill each bosses on their own, if they are killed separately, especially the two mini bosses, they are not that difficult. They have a lot of health, but after a while you actually can kill them very efficiently. What we do different in this trial compared to others is, for example, like our tanks can't really debuff the bosses as reliably as before because they're moving around a lot. So the damage dealers are running the Lover, the Penetration Mundus Stone, instead of the Apprentice Spell Damage Mundus Stone. That's something to consider. And most of us run double infused because there is no trash packs, so you will get slightly more damage on the bosses with double infused, but that's just something to consider. It will not make or break your trial run. One tank here is more or less enough. However, if you want, you can choose a second tank, but it's not really necessary. What we did is we have two healers, we have one tank, and we kind of had a support healing tank, something like that. But you also can just run one tank, two healers, and then the others as damage dealers. What I'm using, or what can be very helpful, because you will have a lot of deaths, some of the mechanics are very punishing. We are having a Magicka Templar damage dealer running Kragrenok or whatever it's called, so you can res people faster. So he's really focusing on resing the others when they are dying. That's something that can really help. As you can see, we are fighting Saint Lotus the Pious here, and there's a few things that you need to be careful of. So first off, the miniats, they enrage after a while and then basically one-shot most players, but they don't have a lot of health. So if you save your ultimates for when the ads are up, you can just simply stack them on the boss, drop all your Destro ultis or whatever, and they should die pretty fast, but you need to kill them before they enrage. The attack you just seen is called Oppressive Bolt. So the boss is charging for about 1 second, he starts to glow green, and then he shoots balls out of his stuff. This needs to be interrupted. So most of our people are actually running Crushing Shock over Force Pulse. So when the tank can't interrupt fast enough because he's taunting deaths or something, that still the damage dealers that are hitting the main boss can interrupt him. Because if he gets more than 1 or 2 waves out, you will get a ton of damage. You also can dodge roll it. Another very strong attack of the boss is called Defiling Blast. So what does he do? It's a conal attack that goes over almost the whole area. The boss is targeting one character. The character, or the player, will get the green glow around his chest body area. And then you really have to block that damage. It hits you in 3-4 waves, and everybody else that stands in it also needs to block. They will even get more damage than the person that has the green glow around them. So if you don't block it, you're instantly dead. What we are doing is, the player that has the green glow just stands still, and the others are moving out, because the conal area is not that big. And the more you move around with the player that has the green thing, the bigger the chance you hit somebody else. So it's just easier to stand still so the others can move out. That's more or less all the difficult things on this boss. Again, I recommend that Magicka setups really run Harness Magicka from the Light Armor skill tree, and Stamina setups run Deadly Cloak from the Dual Wield skill tree for the damage mitigation throughout the whole trial. Saint Felms the Bold is already a little bit more difficult. What we recommend is get close to the boss, and now you can see he's charging Manifest Wrath. So he holds his hand up and then shoots 2 AoEs on the ground. And you cannot stand in the middle of that, otherwise you're dead, it one-shots you. So the whole group needs to move out, so they don't get hit by 2 or 3 of those small AoEs that will drop to the ground, and then you can go back to the boss and stack again. After a while, ads will spawn. Now this is very important. Save your ultimates for the ads. So when the ads spawn, the boss is in the middle, everybody drops their ultimates, so they really die quickly. Because After a while, the adds will enrage and basically one-shot everyone. Another note, at 25% and lower health of the boss, the adds will enrage faster, so it's even more important to kill the adds in a short time with ultimates and just all AoE damage, even if you need to focus them. The adds, or like most red AoEs here actually from the boss, apply maim debuff, so you will do less damage to the boss. So it is very important that you do not stand or get hit by any of his damage, more or less. The adds also have some kind of steel tornado. You can block or dodge roll it, but again they will apply minor maim if you're too close to them. Another very important mechanic, you see the boss jumping around. Till 75% I think the boss only jumps once, then from 75 to 50 twice, and then from 50 and lower 3 times. You need to place one healer outside the group and the second tank or off tank or whatever you have, or a damage dealer, also outside the group. So here we have one right side, one left side. So the boss will jump to, let's say, the dude on the right side, then he jumps to the person on the left side, and if he's low enough he will jump again to the person on the right side. That's how you can avoid getting those huge red AoEs in the group that apply the main debuff, and or like people will do less damage, because you see we are always safe more or less in the middle. We don't get those red AoEs there. That's very important. The mini adds, if they use the steel tornado attack, the shrapnel storm, they will also place bleeding on you, but you can cleanse that with, for example, purge if you want. Other than that, there is nothing really of importance here. It's just in the execute phase this fight gets fairly more difficult because the adds enrage way faster. So again, it is very important that you save the ultimates and then you nuke down those adds as fast as possible, otherwise they will enrage and kill the whole group. Saint owns the chest. It's the last boss of the trial in Asylum Sanctorium. Here very important, I really recommend that nobody is a vampire with stage 1 or higher, because in the execute phase there is a lot of fire damage. If you're not fast enough shielding or purging, you are dead. So that's something to really be aware of. Now, the first mechanic, Gust of Steam. At 90%, 75, 50 and 25%, the boss jumps around from one side of the room to the other one. So you either want to make sure to stand near the entrance or near the exit, where he will not do damage to you. But if you stand in the middle, then you will die, because the tank can survive, but most damage dealers, even if you use a shield, you almost get a one shot because it deals so much damage. Another thing, you see in front of the boss we have one healer placed, and that healer is basically kiting the shock fields. So the boss shoots shock fields into the air, and if nobody's in front of him they will land on the tank. But if you have a healer there or a damage dealer or like the second off tank, he can kite those shock fields. One of our healers, Vana, uploaded the fight where she's kiting those shock fields. I will put the link in the description so you actually can see how it's done. Spheres will spawn from time to time, actually quite frequently, and once the sphere is set to a position and he connects to the boss with a small shock beam, the boss will be immune to any damage. So you really need to make sure to kill those spheres fast. Now, something very important, the healers have to make sure to put elemental drain on them, otherwise they will have too much resistance and it takes long to kill them. So it's very important healers place elemental drain on the spheres so your damage dealers can kill them faster. The most punishing mechanic of this boss fight is Storm the Heavens. It's very important that you don't stack too much when the boss does this, because there's two parts to this mechanic. The boss flies or like hovers around the area and shoots a huge shock beam out of his mouth on the ground, and then shock balls go to each player trying to hit them. If you get hit by 2, you're dead, more or less. Most people are going to die with 2. The second part of the mechanic is that 3 balls randomly just float around the area, like from the middle point of the shock beam, and they just shoot straight in a line to any place. It's just RNG. So you really need to make sure not to get hit by any of this if possible. If you get hit too much, you're dead. And that's probably the most difficult mechanic, because people have to spread out and you don't have to run into each other and all that kind of stuff, otherwise you die. The execute phase is very special. Basically, there is one new mechanic. Other than that, everything stays the same. At 25% the boss will jump again, and after he jumps he will use a fire AoE attack that shoots 3 fireballs into the area. And it's a huge red area, as you can see. There will always be one kinda safe zone. If you get hit by the fire, it will leave a really strong dot on you. So you need to use Harness Magica or Vigor or whatever to survive and purge it as fast as possible. It's purgeable. There will always be fireballs on the left and right side of the area, and then either at the entrance or exit. So if you really stand in the middle of the room, you can see if a fireball is going to the entrance, then you can run to the exit and you will not get hit by any. But you also can just Harness Magica or block and purge as fast as possible and not die. All other mechanics stay exactly the same, so the only new addition is this fire attack. But the thing is, he does it very frequently, and when he also does the Storms of the Heavens, and then immediately after the fire attack people are very spread out and they might not be in purge range, and then they die. So that's something to be very aware of. If a healer dies, you need to immediately res him, because if the healers are dead, you're probably not having enough purges or not enough heals, and the whole group will wipe. Other than that, it's just a very long fight, so you really need to make sure, like, get used to not dying, especially during the execute phase with this fire attack. This fire dot is really strong. So maybe even let some of your damage dealers slot purge. So in case your healers are dead, somebody else can still purge. I will do separate guides for the other fights where you can choose between, like, when you want to fight the main boss and the poison boss, or the main boss and the dual wield boss. But those are fairly more difficult. And then obviously the main boss with both mini bosses is something completely, like, it's just really insane. It makes the fight so much more difficult, but those will come later. I will have a guide on my website. If you have any questions, please ask me in the comment section below. Make sure to not forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Cheers.